a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
All right, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here, supporting the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, always helping you sell your real estate properties faster for more money, utilizing our strategy to help sellers maximize exposure with our radio and TV show. Now, we have our third Thursday event coming up. I want to invite you. We had a great turnout last time as well, so thanks to our listening audience. We had several of our listeners to show up to Brio Tuscan Grill. It's going to be Thursday, April 18th over at Brio, which is International Plaza Mall. Excellent food, wonderful ambiance, and a great, very friendly wait staff. But we're going to have some great networking for you. Come on out and join us on Thursday, April 18th. It's at 6 o'clock over at 2223 Northwest Shore Boulevard. That's Brio Tuscan Grill, the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Several of our show partners, radio personalities will be there, real estate agents from our team, and other folks that you can come out and network with, fellowship with. Great time to be had. Come on out and join us. It's our third Thursday event, Brio Tuscan Grill, International Plaza Mall, the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, a couple of hot listings here. Let's introduce our guests as well. Jason Avery in the house, Avery Construction, and attorney Lee Carr coming up here in just a moment. Carr Law Group. We're going to talk about estate planning, probate avoidance, and elder law coming up as well with our expert contributors in studio for today's show. And before we do, a couple of hot listings here. 5642 Egret's Place, Newport Richey, right here in beautiful Tampa Bay. This is a gated community. One of my favorite listings right now. It's a Mediterranean Palace right here in Tampa Bay. Egret's Place, Newport Richey. We have 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, 3,000 square feet, quarter-acre lot, heated pool with a waterfall, and beautiful pavers around it. Plenty of balcony space on this beautiful 2-story home as well. And you have views of the canal across the street, waterfront views there. This is a beautiful property. Stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, wood cabinets, elevator inside the home as well. Waterfront clubhouse, heated pool, lighted tennis courts, and more over at 5642 Egret's Place, Newport Richey. Great property listing, Mediterranean Palace from the Consumer Quarterback Show. Now, we also have a beach listing right on the beach. Have you ever wanted to own your own beach property and you are right on the beach here? You're not walking across the street to get to the beach. You are on the beach. Beautiful property here on Gulf Boulevard. 18522 Gulf Boulevard, Unit F, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,000 square feet, beachfront condo, Indian Shores, Pinellas County. Beautiful sugar sand beaches and dolphin-filled waters of Pinellas County right here in Tampa Bay, one of the hottest real estate markets in the entire country. Granite countertops, mosaic backsplash, high-quality cabinetry, and more right here in Tampa Bay. Spacious bathroom and a great opportunity to own your own beach property here in beautiful Tampa Bay. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Yeah, I'm racing my class to those saving our ass overseas.
All right, Jason Avery in the house. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, so, I always try to bring the contracting perspective to the table. How are you going to find the good contractors out there? And one of the things you got to consider, if it starts with handyman, it's probably not qualified, but it also sounds to me like it's indicatively the one-man band. And
right.
Whether it's the one-man band, the 5-man band, the guy who's doing just, a job or two a month, that's the first red flag you need to consider, because any one job at any given time can go south. And what I mean is financially speaking. It doesn't mean that, we're going to stop working or not go there anymore. But, out of 12 jobs in production, there's one of them where I'm probably losing money, but I'm going to see it through the finish line, and I'm going to count on those other 11 to win and keep me profitable and in business. But if you're that guy, you've only got one job, and that job goes south, that could be the last job.
Yeah.
If you're the guy that's swinging the hammer and, you get injured, what happens if you're hospitalized for a couple of weeks or worse yet, a couple of months, and what happens to your job? So when this is your prized asset, your house, your home, and you're going to put thousands of dollars into remodeling, including, maybe tens of thousands up front to purchase materials and get things going, you got to kind of secure your investment. So while sometimes the cheaper price sounds more attractive, it can be way more risky.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when you're evaluating contractors. And so from my perspective, we've got succession planning. I've got a will, I've got a trust, and I've got the guy here who can back that up. I brought my lawyer with me today, so he can tell you some of the differences that he might see, and what good business out there is, and the risks that people kind of sometimes assume that they probably shouldn't.
Absolutely. So Lee Carr Law Group, welcome in, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Tell us a little bit more about your business and how you got into the legal profession.
Wow. Well, when I was in law school, I pretty much knew what I wanted to do. This was the area of practice I wanted to have, and worked my way. I concentrated in elder law in law school. I did some work for a few lawyers around town. They offered me a job when I got out. They didn't want to pay me enough, so I started my own firm. And
the American dream.
Yeah,
Start your own business, right?
And I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to purchase a practice about a year and a half in as being a lawyer. And so I did that. And so, you build it or you buy it. And that was the way I ended up doing it. It's been a great success. My paralegal is still with me since 2006.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, love that. The idea of buying a business too. A lot of people don't really think about that, but there's business brokers out there, and there's ways that you can, purchase a business. You already have, maybe somebody's retiring or something along those lines. Buy the business, and now you're able to kind of speed up that process of growing your own.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we're acquiring law firms, it's a matter of sort of a slow transition. This particular lawyer was becoming a judge, and so they had to be completely out of the picture. So it was actually an outright purchase. But it worked out great. That judge now is a very well-respected judge, and she was a great lawyer. And so I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to be able to step in her shoes.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I love it, man. So probate avoidance, estate planning, these are all topics that people need to think about. People a lot of times don't necessarily wake up and say, hey, I want to talk to my parents about estate planning today. That sounds like a fun topic, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because when I have a consult with a new potential client, I say those words to them. I say, people don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go get a will. Something has driven them or nudged them towards me. So,
right.
And it's usually a big life event, a birth, a death,
sure.
Marriage, divorce, those kinds of things are what kind of nudge people in my direction to get some of these plans done. But
life event. And Jason, you know how the important the topic is. I mean, you're a great networker. You're out there talking to a lot of people, and
so I again, I like to associate myself with guys that like Lee dress in suits, and I wear my cutoff shirts and act like a contractor. But people smarter than me, guide me down the right paths. But I tell you what, I'm always been a good judge of character. One thing I've always appreciated about Lee is that his generosity is giving back into the community, and we do a lot of that ourselves. We're building ramps for wheelchairs for kids, and we're widening doorways for wheelchairs for kids, and we contribute to any other kind of food pantries in the area and things of that nature on a regular basis. Lee does guardian litem stuff. He can tell you more about, and I think is very important. He's also giving back with his education. He's teaching out at Stetson and law classes. So I'd love for him to expand on that.
Yeah, that's great. I love teaching. It's one of the things, I guess, as you get into business, and you're in the business for 20 years or so. Jason, I know you do teaching as well, and I taught yesterday a class over at GTAR, the Greater Tampa Realtor Association. Mm-hmm. I just enjoyed it, giving back, and there's kind of a subliminal there, like, hey, if you want to join our real estate team, there's an opportunity there. But I'm not using that platform specifically for that. I'm using it to kind of give back and help other people. I think it's the abundance mentality that real entrepreneurs have in a lot of ways. So giving back. So you're teaching at Stetson. So you're teaching a younger age bracket there, and the kids coming up and saying, hey, this is an area of profession that you can really excel at.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I got out of law school, they never contact you until you've been out for 5 years. And then when 5 years came around, they asked me if I would come back and teach. And law school can be a pretty intimidating process. And many of the students, I was older, so I was around 40 when I went to law school. And there were a few of us that kind of hung out together that were in the same age group. And so it's interesting when I go back and see that group of people, and I can relate, because I was in that chair during that class. I teach the class that I took back in law school. And so it's elder law classes. And it's law students often don't want to, it's intimidating. And so they don't want to embarrass themselves and things like that. So my my thrust is also always to try and get them just to open up and relax. Don't be nervous. I'm not a mean guy. And so, but I really do enjoy it. After COVID, the law school kind of changed the way they did classes and things like that. But I really, really enjoyed doing it for sure. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do teach the class, I kind of say, look, the more that you are inputting and you're giving up and you're answering questions, you're getting involved, the more you're going to get out of it. Right. So you might as well volunteer. We're going to have to pick on you.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, I've looked at I did a pretty good job as a father, as a husband, as an entrepreneur now, business owner. But what's next? When the people immediately around me are gone, who's ever going to remember my name? So I think teaching is the way to create legacy. When you can impact other lives. So I kind of at night lay in bed and just kind of count the ways. How many people did I actually help today? Was there was I able to influence somebody? Was I able to inject some knowledge or just some inspiration into them? Light a little fire into people, kick them in the butt a little bit, get them to do something a little bit more than they would have done for themselves if I hadn't given them the push. Right.
Yeah, think outside the box and get involved, and I kind of expand their horizons as well. And yesterday I was thinking, I'm talking about real estate deals and how to get business. The class I teach is win with sellers, how to the 7-step seller service cycle, winning with sellers. And I challenge them to think about it in a lot of different ways, because there's agent to agent referrals, so not only the vertical that you're looking at, but also the different types of real estate. So, hey, if you're talking to somebody and they're doing a commercial deal, just because you can't do a commercial deal, remember in real estate, we're able to make a 25% referral fee by referring that business to someone else. So I says, I do vacant land, commercial and residential. So think about that. These are ways that we can all work together. And, so we go through a lot of good content in that class. It's a Keller Williams approved class, and, GTAR, they let us teach it in that class, but I love it. I love giving back. It's a really, interesting thing that happens when you're, in your mid 40s or, getting up in that statesman, they called it the statesman style, right? You're a little bit more of a statesman at that age.
So, what I most prefer mentoring and coaching is other contractors, because let's face it, in Florida, contractors have kind of a bad rap, we've all heard that horror story before, and that's just funny because that's how I met Lee, because he had to fire another contractor out of his house, and I had to get hired to come in and fix it and to see it across the finish line, and that's that started a dozen years ago now.
Wow. So. Yeah, very interesting. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk more with Jason Avery Construction, home remodeling, and also attorney Lee Carr, the Carr Law Group here, estate planning and other topics coming up. Here's an interesting story, too. We'll kind of talk about Sam Bankman-Fried. Bankman-Fried's Day of Reckoning coming up. He's orchestrated one of the largest white-collar crimes in history. We'll talk a little bit about that on the next side here as well. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to My Daddy's Show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
I want to give a special thanks to Satellite Phone Store. They just hooked me up with this beautiful satellite phone, and it's a gorgeous phone. It's a great device. It's a safety device as well. Think about it. If you're out on the boat 40, 50 miles out, maybe you're going hunting or you're going hiking in the woods somewhere, you run out of cell phone service, or who knows, maybe a possible terrorist attack. It's not like our politicians aren't entrenched in all this stuff going on overseas, all over the place, all over the world. Could be a terrorist attack. They could attack the power grid. They could attack the cell phones. Who knows what they're going to attack next. Sat123.com/REQB. Sat for satellite, sat123.com/REQB, like real estate quarterback.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917 1894.
All right, back here in studio, Jason Avery Construction, and attorney Lee Carr, the Carr Law Group, here coming up on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Also kind of teased this Bankman-Fried story. Before we do a couple of hot listings here in Tampa Bay, we always feature our listings live on air. It's our strategy to help sellers sell faster for more money. We got a property here at 15900 Oak Crest. This one's in Brooksville. What I love about that northern part of our listening audience is that you get a little bit more bang for your buck. Larger lots, larger rooms, 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 3-car garage here at Oak Crest Circle in Brooksville. We just did a recent price improvement as well. Sliding glass doors open up to the tranquil patio. You have a jetted garden tub, newer hot water heater, AC installed as well, and you have a generator set up. So he's got a really cool generator set up there with a propane set up as well. Sprinkler system. 15900 Oak Crest Circle in Brooksville, Florida. Beautiful real estate property, single family home. 8333 New York Avenue in Hudson. This one is kind of a mixed-use property. We have commercial and residential combined here at 8333 New York Avenue in Hudson. 1.5 acres, zoning is C3, and you have 3 different structures, 2 residential buildings, single-family homes that are rented out, and also a warehouse as well. So over 1.5 acres of land, kicking off around $3,300 in cash, warehouse amenities, office space, climate-controlled 2-bay. You have a car lift as well. Great opportunity to own real estate here in Hudson, Florida, and we did a price improvement there as well. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com. All right, kind of an interesting story. So SBF, we all heard about this guy. He ripped off a lot of people. White-collar crime in history, largest white-collar crime. He faces a maximum penalty of 110 years, waited almost 5 months to learn his punishment. Found guilty of an $8 billion fraud. $8 billion with a B there. FTX currency crypto exchange. Prosecutors are seeking up to 50 years, arguing that he had brazen disrespect for the rule of law. Bankman-Fried's attorneys have asked for a 6.5-year or less. FTX founder is expected to speak in court. Surging crypto prices could help FTX customers recover more than their assets were worth when the exchange went bust. So it's kind of interesting there that maybe there's some type of a, evening out, balancing out of the people. But yeah, he defrauded a lot of people. And from what I hear, he also was a big donor to one of the political parties. So it's kind of interesting how that works out. And but yeah, wow, in the news, Sam Bankman-Fried.
I don't care what side of the aisle you're on or what your real opinion of Trump is, but just compare the value of the damages that are being, put upon these guys. So that Bankman-Fried guy, how many people did he destroy? And $8 billion, and it's like $250 million or something as his penalty, and then you got a 450 plus penalty being imposed on Trump, and there was no victim actually. Right. The banks that he maybe fudged the numbers to a little bit wanted to do it again. And I guess who hasn't really fudged the number up when you need it to be to get the loan, or fudged it down when it's time to pay the taxes. It's coming out of the woodwork now. Some of the other names that you may, that maybe were hypocrites to it, without naming names. So, but it's amazing to me, it seems to be, not a fair standard of justice. And
well, they have a law.
There's an attack
for it,
going
right? Lawfare. They have it's like warfare, but lawfare now. Lee, any comment on like this lawfare, the thing that seems to be happening in our country? I don't know.
It seems that the judicial branch has become more political as time goes on, and it's happened, over decades. And
right.
So, and President Trump had some pretty savvy Supreme Court appointees, and I think that it's bearing fruit at the moment.
Right.
And so, this was he saw an opportunity and took it, and it is a conservative leaning bench at the moment. But I'm still a big fan of the judicial system.
Right.
I see it working a lot. The things that are in the news are often the things that aren't working so well or are divisive.
Yeah.
And so, but I go to court a fair amount of times, and most of the time, it's a decent outcome.
Well, luckily here in Florida, we're somewhat insulated from the DC type stuff. But
right.
yeah, it's interesting, man. And you look at it and you just think, because you always hear that. What about this question too? It's like, hey, you seem like you have a pretty good case, but if you go to trial, anything can happen.
100%.
Right? People say that all the time, right? Why is that? And is it different between a bench trial versus a jury trial?
Yeah. So the risk of going to trial is that you lose some control. if the parties are able to avoid going to trial, which a vast majority of cases don't actually make it to trial, right? They usually settle prior to getting there. Because once you get there, if it's a jury trial, you've got a panel of your peers who are going to listen to the facts and make a judgment. And, if it's a bench trial, it's a judge that is really the decision maker, the adjudicator. So, and trials are just so expensive. There are lawyers everywhere, and there's a lot of lead up to a trial in the discovery phase and things like that. And it just gets tremendously expensive, and it takes a long time. So, it's a break-even point kind of analysis that you have to do, and everybody asks, well, how much is it going to cost? I have no idea.
Can't predict it.
No, I don't know how much it's going to be, Yeah. So there is some risk to go into trial, but, sometimes that's where you got to do it.
And, I've learned that it in all the years that I've been in business, over 13 thousands of projects, I can count on less than one full hand how many times that I've had to engage a lawyer to help me get through the end of this. Somebody that was just, we got out of the reasonable box. And I tell you what, I don't think there's ever been a time where that outcome ever came out in my favor. That, by the time I was done paying for the legal service to get to the settlement, I should have just written them the check in the first place and gotten the black cloud to go away for, for several weeks or months, Yeah,
real estate's very similar. You get the threatening client or, from time to time you have, I put it like this, you have 1 out of 100, typically. That'll be just that wild card. It's like, wow, this person is unbelievable. But, most of the people are nice and they're able to be, convinced or reasonable, have reasonable expectations. We've got about a minute left for each of you. I want to give you a final thought. Jason, Avery Construction, final thought, 1 minute.
Yeah, so the final thought is just, shop carefully, do interview contractors, but kind of dive in a little bit more. Do your Google searches, do your due diligence, check on a license, and protect your asset because, again, there are horror stories out there, and usually they all stem from just very poor communication. And if a contract is a vague paragraph description with a total price, run. And you want to see things itemized and broken down so you know exactly where each dollar goes so that if things change, which they're going to change, and then you know how to be credited and debited accordingly. Yeah. And one of my favorite lines that Lee always says is where there's a will, you want to be in it.
There you go. Where there's a will, there's a way, or you want to be in it. Right. Final thoughts, Lee Carr, carlawgroup.com.
Yeah, I think, I help families transfer wealth upon death and then plan for incapacity. And when I go to court, as I mentioned before, it's usually because people don't have a plan. I'm a probate lawyer, right? So I do lots of probate, but it's mostly for folks and families who don't have a plan to avoid probate. That's what everybody wants to do. And so we're able to come up with plans that avoid the cost and expense and delay of probate. But you always, people often only think about the transfer of wealth upon death, but there's also incapacity events. There's a car accident. I just had a consult with a family the other day where a young guy was killed in a car accident. Didn't have any plan, and he's got a minor daughter, and so we're going to end up in guardianship court for that.
Wow.
That because he was divorced, and so it's it doesn't, even though it's elder law, it's for everybody. Jason.
Right.
And so, it's good to have a plan.
Absolutely. Check them out online, carlawgroup.com, averyconstruction.com.
Yep.
averyconstruction.com. All right, coming up, top agent on the Platinum MVP team. We got Abby Rutledge in the house, Platinum MVP team. We're going to talk about the real estate market, other factors facing affordability as well here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you follow us online. We'd love to connect at Brandon Rhymes 1 at CQB Show. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Brandon Rhymes Realty. We will be right back.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show.